Hello, Transurfers and the Transurfing Curious. I am Renee Garcia, and this is my Reality Transurfing Express lesson of the day. So let me start off by saying if you have not yet subscribed to TransurfingTV, please do so now by clicking the link below. Your views and comments and subscription are greatly appreciated. And yeah, I will get right into this concept because I'm going to pack a lot of information into it, and I'm going to tell you a little bit more about my story and why this concept has not only transformed ultimately my entire worldview, my perception of reality, but also my external reality. Everything about my life now is so much different than I ever could have thought possible because of this concept. And this concept is the alternatives flow. It is a very, very powerful concept in the transurfing modality, and if you can gain a sense of how to go with this flow more frequently in your life, you will see drastic change. Where I am today, I would never have believed I would be here. If you would have told me 10 years ago that I would have ended up living back in my hometown, having some of the things that I have now, doing this with reality transurfing, finding new professions, I would have really not believed it. It took me transurfing and going with this alternatives flow to find myself here. And like I say to some people that have taken instruction with me, once you give in to the alternatives flow, be prepared because you never know where it's going to take you. And that's exactly what happened to me. It is absolutely mind-blowing. So I will get to my story. When I was in my mid-20s, I found myself going through a divorce. I was married to an abusive man. It wasn't a very good relationship. I had married very, very young. And when I went through my divorce, I was in my mid-20s. I had, again, no education, no profession. I found myself living away from my hometown and my family. I was in Los Angeles, a very competitive place, and I virtually had no way of providing for myself. So a couple years after the divorce, I just tried really to keep my head above water. I was in a very bad place, emotionally, spiritually, financially. I was ruined financially. I had taken over all the debt into my name. Again, I didn't have a way to make money. It was really not a good situation. And I spent the next couple years just trying to provide for myself. I worked in the restaurant industry for a while. And then I realized that if I wanted to come up, so to speak, or find myself to a better lifestyle, I was going to have to take more drastic measures. So I started my own small business, and within a few years of doing this, I gained some success for myself. I gained a name, I started to accumulate some wealth. My tracks went up, so to speak. Now, this was pre-transurfing, so I didn't quite understand the idea of tracks yet, but I knew that my lifestyle was building. I was gaining a little bit of status, and I was moving up. Now, what happened as a product of that is I placed a lot of importance on things in my external environment, right? I was under the influence of some pendulums that had me believing that I needed to continue to feed certain aspects of my life, right? The status, the making money, the success, all that kind of stuff. And what happened was I started to suffer greatly as a consequence internally. I was not living with heart and mind coordination. I was living with pure inner intention at times. And I was suffering. I did not feel I had purpose. I was plagued with depression and anxiety. I had insomnia. I would find myself in bad relationships. I suffered from low self-esteem. And if things didn't work out in my external reality, let's say like a deal fell through in my business, I would become devastated. I would become hopelessly depressed. And I struggled for a lot of years with just maintaining what I felt I needed for myself, which was, again, this success and this lifestyle and showing people in my life that I could do it and all that kind of stuff. So I have a little bit of a diagram that I want to present to you all, and it doesn't matter what sort of track you're on. I'm sure you all can relate because we all do this to a certain extent, every single one of us. So let's imagine that the alternative space is a river, okay? And in my old life, I was in this river, and I was holding on to a rock, okay? And this rock had things on it that I thought that I wanted, right? Material, status, you know, all that stuff that I mentioned before. But there was material and information and stuff that I connected with on this rock that I deemed important to me in my life, right? Both inner and outer importance. And I was holding on to this rock so firmly because I felt that if I let go, that I was going to suffer some kind of consequence, okay? I was going to lose these things that were on this rock, and I didn't want to lose that stuff. Again, inner and outer importance. Okay, I won't get into the details, but something very traumatic happened to me. At the time, I thought it was the worst thing that had ever happened to me in my life, and now looking back on it, it was actually the best thing that ever happened to me in my life. But this event happened, and I realized that if I was going to survive, I needed to let go of this rock, okay? So I let go of the rock, and I started to go with the alternatives flow. Now, this was before transurfing, so I was kind of just free-floating in the alternative space. But shortly after letting go of this rock, I found transurfing, and then I realized, holy shit, there are a ton of other rocks in this space, okay? And these other rocks have other things on them, right? Some things that I really, really want to have in my life, in my reality. Some of the things that I was not participating with, or I did not have when I was holding on to this other rock, okay? One of the main ones, heart and mind coordination. I had none, right? An inner sense of comfort, a feeling of purpose, good relationships, other job or professional opportunities that provided me with something more than what I was getting when I was holding on here. So it really took, now let me say this, when I let go of this rock and I started to travel through this, through this space, going with the alternatives flow, I would come up to another one of these rocks and I would say, oh, hey, look at, there's some stuff there for me. And I would take some of that stuff, and then I'd kind of flow down to another rock. And I've been on a journey since finding transurfing, which has been about 5 years now. And let's say I've made it down to this rock. This is the rock that I'm currently on, right? So, and I've gathered things along the way, and now I'm here, I'm on this rock, and I feel amazing, right? I have purpose, my relationships are good, I found the love of my life, I found a better way to exist, I found comfort and peace in my mind, I don't have depression anymore, I don't suffer from anxiety, I sleep well at night, I feel fulfilled, I feel whole, I feel like I am living the best track that I possibly can, and I found it here. But looking back, right, I realize now I would never have made it here had I not let go of this rock, right? And this is all, again, this signifies inner and outer importance, okay? I had to let go of the rock. So a few of the things that have helped me in doing this and keeping this alternatives flow going, flowing through the space, is reminding myself that I have to be working from my heart, right? If I'm only in my mind, I'm holding on to this rock. I have to be working with my heart to flow, okay? I have to have a relationship with my inner observer, okay? This inner observer is going to point out to me when I am doing this. Stop, Renee. Flow. You don't need to do this anymore. Paying attention to my inner comfort, my inner level of comfort. If I'm feeling discomfort, if I'm starting to feel depressed, if I'm starting to feel anxiety, I know I'm probably doing this. All the good things are waiting for me if I let go. All the feelings of comfort, all the feelings of ease, my reality is good, my world is taking care of me. That is in this space here. So a few points that I would like to make before I end. The paths of least resistance are organized into separate streams. So there's not one way to go, right? There's an infinite number of streams. There are an infinite number of rocks, options, tracks, set and decorations, all that stuff. Streams in the alternatives flow, or the space of variations, contain all the solutions to our problems, okay? So I had a lot of problems when I was holding on to this rock. I didn't have any heart and mind coordination. I was riddled with anxiety and depression. I didn't have meaningful relationships in my life. And all the solutions to all of that stuff existed in here. But I had to let go to find this stuff here, okay? Inner and outer importance jolts the mind out of the optimal streams, okay? So when I'm traveling in this flow, when I'm in flow and I start to create importance on something, I start to go back to this space of holding on to this rock, right? I know that when I hold on to the rock, it's because of importance. Everything works much more simply than we think. We have to yield to this simplicity, okay? This is so valuable now. Really, when I start to feel like something's missing, I know a few things are going on. One, my quality of thinking, my mindset isn't right. Two, I know that I'm not flowing with the alternatives flow. And three, I know that I'm making things way more complicated than they need to be. Way more complicated was me holding on to this rock. There was all sorts of beauty and simplistic things waiting for me when I let go. So yeah, that's pretty much the alternatives flow. Again, this is a practice. This is not something that you can just do, but if you feel like you are holding on to this rock, there is a much easier way to do things, and there's things that are existing right now that are intended just for you, that are just a short flow away. Remember, there's an infinite number of options and there is an infinite number of variations of you, but you have to first assume that there is, or accept that the idea that there is, right? And then second, you have to let go of this rock. There's really no way to do both. So that's alternatives flow in a nutshell. If you all have any questions for me, I'm trying to sum this up as quickly as I can to be under my 15 minutes, but I hope this is turned a light on, so to speak, in your mind if you are in fact holding on to that rock. So please follow me on Instagram if you've not already, reality_transurfing, or join us on our Facebook group, the International Transurfing Institute Facebook group, and of course subscribe here if you have not already. Thank you all very much, and tomorrow my lesson will be on finding a partner that is absolutely the most perfect partner for you and sort of tackling the romantic equation. So thanks everybody, and happy transurfing. Bye.